All right, let's not get ahead of ourselves here and let's back up a second.
Good morning, everyone. It is a full day here on the farm, which is no surprise for late July, right? We are still in the hustle and bustle of the busy season. While we've taken a lot of July off and kind of just let the summer garden do what it's gonna do, we are still harvesting a lot of bounty from it. So before it is a million degrees outside, we're gonna go harvest some tomatoes so that we can have fresh for lunch and dinner tonight. We've got to feed the sourdough starter. I'm gonna harvest a quick little bouquet for the house, just see what's going on out there. We're actually gonna check on the potatoes today. So we haven't really checked to see if any of our potatoes are ready. We planted them a good bit back, so that's on the agenda today as well. So come along as I share with you guys how we feed our family without the grocery store. So before we head out to the garden, you already know my daily rhythm almost, especially right now in the summertime, is feeding Otis before we start the day. Now, typically I bake twice a week. I bake on Tuesdays and Thursday, and I've had this same rhythm for many years and it has worked for me. I kind of bake quite a bit on those 2 days to kind of last until the next day, right? But I find that in the summertime, I am baking a lot more from scratch, those meals that take a little bit longer. And because we're just home more, it's easier for me not to have to bake in bulk and freeze. I can just kind of bake more frequently. So we're gonna do a really fun garden to table pizza. So I know I need some focaccia for that. So first up, that just comes with feeding Otis before we even start the day. So let's grab our flour and our water and let's get busy. So typically I would discard Otis and save the discard for some sort of recipe, but because we don't really have any discard, because we don't really have any discard recipes this week, they're just like big bread recipes, I'm actually not gonna discard this, I'm just gonna feed on top of it. So I'm gonna do 100 grams of flour, 100 grams of water. If you want my tried and true easy recipes getting started, I've got a free ebook, I'll put it for you guys down below. One of the things though that I really want to experiment with more, right? When I think about building that self-sufficiency mindset in the home, one of the things we have been doing is buying our flour. Now, I buy my flour from Azure Standard bulk, which you guys ask me all the time. I have personally spent over an hour talking to Mr. Azure Standard himself and figuring out what is the best flour to recommend. And what they have told me to tell you all, if you're wanting that standard artisan loaf, that big fluffy loaf, you just want to buy their all-purpose unbleached flour. It still has a 14% protein content, so it's still gonna rise like a bread flour, even though it's an all-purpose flour. But I would like to start buying the berries and milling my own. So if any of you guys have any tips or resources or people you love to follow that are really in the milling their own grains, that is the next step for us here on the farm. And I'm really, really excited about it. Wow, this is really hard to do, left-handed. I'm really excited about it. That is just another step, right? When I think about self-sufficiency, it's not one of those things you can just go all in on, right? You're not gonna wake up one day and just decide, okay, I'm never shopping at the grocery store anymore. While I'm sure many of us wish that was our reality, it's just a really hard thing to accomplish. But if we can figure out, well, what are the stepping stones to get us there? And for my family in particular, we started with growing our own food. How do we grow the ingredients that we're buying at the store? And that was the first step. And we've been doing that step for over a decade now. And so over the last few years, we were like, all right, how do we make our own bread from scratch? How do we make our own ketchup and mayonnaise and things like that? So I don't know, it's a gradual process, and I always just want to be so authentic with you guys. It is an admirable goal that I think we should all strive for, right? There's something so beautiful about eating seasonally, going out in your backyard and harvesting fresh ingredients for dinner. But the reality is, no one's doing it perfectly. It takes a lot of time, a lot of energy. So this is your friendly reminder to give yourself some grace, okay? Rome wasn't built overnight, you guys. This is a really good cup of coffee. Yeah, you want to try some?
I love coffee.
Mama, mama, mama. And you guys know, if anything, we are raw and authentic here. And as much as I'm sure you would love a curated video with all this beautiful imagery and music, you know, I got 4 kids at the house and it's loud here. And I'm trying to make our life seem as real as it can be. So I'm not cutting any of that out, you guys. This is the raw, this is the real, this is what it looks like in our family. And honestly, it's probably what it looks like for your family too.
Oh,
baby. Alright, somebody needs to finish the dishwasher.
Probably you do the rest. I'm not doing the whole entire dishwasher. Because I always do the whole entire dishwasher.
Oh. Okay, we need to have good attitudes. And if Daddy asks you both to do it, Junie did her part. Now, Charlie, you can put up the things she can't reach.
Okay.
And then she can do the things that she can't reach because she did pick up the mess in the bathroom, okay? Yes, ma'am, Mommy.
Yes.
Thank you.
She's silly. She's silly.
You want to go out to the garden? Feeding our family honestly starts right here with whatever's coming in from the garden is definitely what's making its way on the table this week. That's why we really put a lot of intention in planning ahead, planting with purpose and planting seasonally, and working with what's ready, not with what's convenient. This is the biggest shift when it comes to replacing the grocery store. The biggest mindset shift is one, learning to eat seasonally, knowing that there's a lot of repetition in food, right? So being kind of creative with how we prepare meals and use ingredients. But when we really learn to use this for our advantage, you guys, it changed everything. You guys, the July garden in Arkansas is so hot. You can see we've actually had heat advisories all week, so we're trying to do this early in the morning. But I just wanted to kind of shine light on this, right? I've talked to so many gardeners, so many friends, and July, ending of July, is when we all really start to experience something called burnout, right? Our gardens have worked so hard for us, we've been so diligent, but now it's hot, we're tired, maybe our plants are getting blight, maybe we're getting a few more pests and disease than we would have liked. And it's hard. And so I just want to encourage you that when you're growing food, especially if you're growing a summer garden, burnout is normal, okay? There's nothing wrong with you. It's not that you don't love growing food. It's not that you don't have all these wild aspirations to ditch the grocery store and just come and shop your backyard. It's something that all of us experience, no matter how head over heels we are for this lifestyle, right? I experience it, my friends experience it, it's part of the journey. I will say though, through the years, I've learned how to lessen my burnout. And part of how I do that is by saying, hey, I think I need to take some time off, right? You guys know we kind of removed ourselves from the July garden just because I knew it was gonna be crazy. And so I was like, you know what? I think I'm gonna take a little bit of a break. Hey, why don't we go put these in that basket, okay?
Okay.
Yeah, go put them in the basket for Mommy. There you go. But I'm not worried about it because we focus so much on here. Do you want my apron so you can put them in the apron? Okay.
Now, grab all my good ones.
Okay, look, now what you're gonna do is you're gonna lift it up There we go. And you're gonna stick them all in here, and then you'll go dump them. Okay.
Hot.
There you go.
It's sweaty under my hat.
I know, it's sweaty under my hat too. So while July and August bring a lot of burnout, you can stay encouraged, because after I get done sweating my butt off out here, I'm actually going to transition into the house and we're starting seeds, because fall is our season. Fall is the season where things get to be a little bit easier. Fall is the season when you're not sweating, your plants aren't under as much stress. You can kind of autopilot your garden. And so if you've never grown in the fall and self-sufficiency is a huge goal for you, you want to become less reliant on the grocery store, you want to shop your backyard no matter how big or how small it is, I really believe that fall is kind of the gateway to get you there. So I'm going to share with you guys what I'm starting, but I have my top 5 crops for fall. It's a free just PDF I'm gonna put down below. So another way I'm able to feed my family without the grocery store, sure, right? We are literally using our backyard like the grocery store. We're coming out, we're shopping our ingredients to figure out what we're making. A lot of that is eating seasonally, a lot of that is repetition of what we're eating, but the truth is a lot of that is figuring out what can I preserve to where when the garden's long gone are things that were in peak season, it's no longer their season anymore, we can still utilize them. So for instance, we grew so many root crops this spring. We do them twice a year in the spring and the fall. I'm still pulling carrots, radish, and turnips every single week for our weekly meals because I grew so much of it. These peppers I'm gonna freeze dry. The tomatoes we make into sauces and salsa. Actually tonight we're gonna be making a pizza focaccia, so we're whipping up a fresh sauce, right? And so when I can grow the right crop in the appropriate season, but then I can preserve it, whether that's freezing, freeze drying, canning, fermenting, etc., I can have those things long into the winter after the ideal season has come and gone, right? And this really doesn't add a lot of diversity in what we're growing, but it adds a lot of stability, right? It prevents us from having to go to the grocery store often. And now we're just doing our monthly bulk buys from Azure Standard for our lentils, our butter, our rice, things like that. Pause for just a moment and thank Skillshare for sponsoring today's video. You guys know I am a huge fan of Skillshare and have been using this online learning platform for quite a while now. If you don't know what it is one of the largest online learning platforms. You guys, there are literally thousands of classes for creatives, professionals, and literally everything in between. If you've got a hobby or a project or something you're aspiring to learn, I'm talking anything from productivity to watercolor to keeping houseplants alive, they have got a class and a learning path for you. Ask me how I know, because I have literally dove head deep in so many different things. Everything from food photography, learning how to show up and edit better for you guys here on YouTube. Some of you guys have even noticed we have leveled up our thumbnail game. That is all thanks to a Canva class I took, learning specifically how to create beautifully visual thumbnails. Maggie Stara was such an incredible teacher, and she made it so easy to learn and immediately apply everything I learned to our YouTube thumbnails. I cannot recommend her class enough. So if you want to learn directly from real people who are super creative, very professional, and exceptionally talented in their craft, Skillshare is for you. So I would love it if you guys join me, maybe take one of the classes that I'm taking, right? We can learn a new skill together, because I'm always looking for ways to hone in my skill and my craft just a little bit more, but they've made it super, super easy. So the first 500 people to scan this QR code right up here or check out my link in the description is going to get a 30-day free trial. So there is literally no reason for you to not jump in and get started today. So thanks again, Skillshare, for sponsoring today's video. So if you guys are OGs, you've been around for a while, you know we've had really fun curated collections in the Whispering Willow shop for some time. And these aprons were a really fun addition we've had for a few years, but I'm wanting to kind of elevate it a little, right? There's something about just a denim half apron that goes with anything, that's versatile in the kitchen and in the garden. And so I am trying to talk Nathan into bringing something like that into the shop for Christmas, okay? So if you guys would just cast your vote in the comments, would you like to see a half denim apron, something that maybe has our tag embroidered in it or something like that? I don't know. I'm thinking through some fun things to keep it still Jill style, right? But by being super versatile in the home, out in the garden, just something you throw on every day and it's a part of your attire. So cast a vote down below so that we can know. It's crazy that in July we're thinking about Christmas, but honestly, that's kind of what we have to do. So I'll be honest, I would love to sit here and romanticize this idea of growing all your family's food without the use of the grocery store. But for that to actually be a reality for my family and for yours, it takes a lot of planning. Most people don't really think about planting more food when their garden's already full. You know, we're peak garden season for many growing zones, but this is how we actually feed our family for the next season and the next season and the next season. So I'm starting all of my brassicas right now: cabbage, broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, kohlrabi. I'm having to start these now in the peak summer season so that I am securing food for my family in October, November, December. Now, I'm not naive enough to think that I'm never going to have to go to the grocery store, because that's just not true. There are some things I cannot grow and my family cannot raise, and that's okay. But I want to be diligent and a good steward of my time to prioritize the things that I can. How do I reduce my trips to the grocery store? And part of that is planning and being a good steward of my time to make sure I'm starting the seeds, I'm ordering the seeds, I've got all my adequate equipment and things like that. So I do firmly and wholeheartedly believe that you can make a substantial step for your family in being less reliant on the grocery store if there's just a little bit of planning and forethought on the front end. Secured winter food, which is really, really encouraging. So I just started brassicas primarily and celery. Those are going to take a lot longer to mature, and we really will try to get at least a couple successions on those. The things that I'm going to wait a little bit longer for, because it's still super hot here, that they would just bolt if I stuck them outside, would be our kale, our chard, our salanova, spinach, things like that. And they're very fast maturing, fast growing. So if I started those now, I could probably put them out in a couple weeks, but it's still too hot here. So I'm gonna wait and probably towards the end of August start those, and we'll just keep doing successions all year long. So I got my first round done. I've got everything kind of plugged in here on when I started them, which is nice. Nathan's working on replacing the irrigation right now, which is really exciting. So I'm going to get these under some grow lights. They're just going to hang out here in the house so that I don't have to monitor them as much outside. But this is a huge way that my family doesn't shop at the grocery store. We're really mindful about starting seeds year round so that we can grow food year round. So it's really exciting, but let's clean up because Otis is about to bust out of his little jar. So let's clean up and let's get ready to make some bread. So one of the benefits of not discarding your dough and just immediately feeding it is that it is going to ramp up fermentation drastically. So check that out. I mean, Otis is nice and active so much faster. So that's great. I love it, just to speed everything along. Ziggy, come here, Papa. What is it? So I'm making a focaccia to go for pizza. Focaccia is actually an Italian flatbread. It's kind of my go-to and super universal in terms of what you can do with it. So I'm going to make a couple of these. That way we can have with pizza. We can literally just use whatever vegetables we have outside. We have a ton of ground pork, things like that. So that'll be really easy. But the girls have been begging me for bagels. So I typically like to start my bagel recipe around 3 p.m. in the afternoon to hit the timing right. So I'm going to go ahead and set this to the side. Get some bagels going in this one. Let me grab my recipe book real quick. So if you guys want my step-by-step bagel recipe, you can catch it up here. Bagels are typically one of those things, I'll be honest. It's a great easy breakfast. We can use, you know, fresh eggs. Super versatile to be able to just utilize what we have and have that be kind of a staple for our breakfast. But they take a little bit of time. So what I actually like to do is batch a bunch of bagels on the weekend and freeze them. So we have officially pulled out the last of our bagel reserves, which is why I decided, you know what, I'm already in the kitchen. I'm already gonna be baking and preserving over the next few days. I might as well just add this into my rotation. But it's actually quite simple. I do just recommend though, if you wanna have stocked where you're not having to go and buy bagels, just bake an extra batch, freeze them, and you can thaw them out, reheat them in the oven, and they taste amazing. So I mentioned earlier that I typically bake on a twice a week schedule. I have found that through the last few years, if I bake twice a week on Tuesdays and on Fridays, that I can supplement all of my family's bread needs. Now, I'm not sure if maybe just because I came from a gardening background and not a home baking background, when I initially was on this pursuit of I would love for us to not shop at the grocery store as much, my mind immediately just went to growing food, right? What food can we raise? What vegetables can I grow? It took me a while before I ever thought about, okay, maybe I can actually replace the breakfast needs of my family, right? Maybe we can no longer buy sandwich bread. Now it looks like me making all of our sandwich loaves. I'm making all of our bagels, any of our specialty breads, so like a baguette, French bread, something like that with certain dishes. Even as far as I've been recently realizing that we were buying tortillas quite frequently. And so that is something I've been experimenting with. And so I want to encourage you guys that if you're thinking about, you know, providing enough food for your family to where you are less reliant on the grocery store, it doesn't have to just be limited to vegetables. It can be what can you make from scratch? What are pantry mixes? What are maybe some few backyard chickens to provide you with eggs? You know, maybe some meat birds, something along those lines. And so I really encourage you to kind of diversify your thinking, because when I did that, it opened up a lot of possibilities. And just remember, you guys, it's not always picture perfect. Sometimes we literally have toast and scrambled eggs for dinner, right? But every seed, every loaf, and every meal from the garden pulls us one step closer to our goals. And so if you want to start feeding your family this way too, right? Maybe you aspire this lifestyle. I just want to encourage you all to start small. Grow one thing. Bake one loaf. Say no to the store 1 week at a time, right? That is how it begins. But as always, we are so appreciative that you're here. We love sharing our life as authentically as we can. That looks like the good, the bad, the ugly, and we all know the certainly loud. But thank you all for joining us this week, and we can't wait to see you in the next one.